So, overarchingly, in regards to the previous research on student-parent relationship and binge drinking, there seems to be evidence that the quality of the parent-child relationship has an effect on binge drinking and drinking behaviors. In comparison, there seems to be a small amount of evidence for the opposite claim. It seems to be evident that the parent-child interactions have an effect on binge drinking throughout college, and that seems to be indicative of the quality of the parent-child relationship. And the interaction between parent-child relationship having an effect on binge drinking is one of the primary driving ideas behind our study. So all indicators and evidence point to a potentially statistically significant interaction between parent-child relationship and binge drinking, specifically with the parent-child relationship having a negative effect on binge drinking. Next, we'll be talking about the previous research on religion and binge drinking. First, we see the impact of perceived descriptive norms on alcohol consumption, but not alcohol-related problems, was lessened for individuals high in religious fundamentalism. Next, we see college students who attend religious services are less likely to use alcohol, and in a similar vein, religious involvement is a predictor for reduced frequency of alcohol use in college students. Next, we see that parents' religious traditions and their degrees of religiosity largely influence a student's drinking. Further, non-Jewish parents and parents with weak faith experience greater alcohol problems. So, the parent religious traditions, and their degrees of religiosity and their alcohol problems serve as a model and serve as behaviors that influence the student and their current and future drinking behaviors. So in summation with the religion and binge drinking, there's evidence that religious affiliation is associated with decreases in binge drinking, but the extent and type of religious affiliation plays a major role in these associations. Next, religious fundamentalism has a mitigating effect on the association between perceived norms and alcohol consumptions, but not problem behaviors. So it'd be particularly interesting to see if perceived parental norms around binge drinking affect it differently. In summation, the background literature seems to indicate that the quality of the student-parent relationship and binge drinking seem to have a strong association, with high-quality parent-student interactions having a mitigating effect on binge drinking. Further, it seems to be that communication and positive interactions with healthy communication styles seem to have the biggest effect on mitigating binge drinking and future binge drinking behaviors. Further, there seems to be a strong amount of evidence that religious affiliation seems to have a mitigating effect on binge drinking. There is evidence to suggest that specific religions and specific dispositions towards religion have an alternative effect on binge drinking and binge drinking behaviors, but the overarching theme seems to be that religious affiliation has a negative effect on binge drinking.
Okay, so for our hypothesis, we decided that there will be a strong significance between parent-child relationship quality and frequency of binge drinking. Whether we look at this in a negative sense of bad parent-child relationship quality raising the frequency of binge drinking, or good parent-child relationship quality lowering the frequency of binge drinking. We came to this conclusion based on the results of the research studies that we use for our literary review. As Bennett has spoken, we found a lot of studies in which the results showed that there was a significance between parent-child relationship and different measures of alcohol use. And looking at religious affiliation, we decided that there would be no statistical significance between binge drinking and religious affiliation. We came to this conclusion mainly based on the idea that because we can't necessarily look at individual religious affiliations and it's more in a broader sense, we don't think that there will be as high of a significance, if at all, on binge drinking. if we were able to maybe test individual religious affiliations, then we could probably see some significance in some religions. But overall, because this is a more broader variable, we might not necessarily see that impact as much as we might see it on parent-child relationships. Moving forward, so for our analytical strategy, what we're going to do is a hierarchical regression model. Basically, what this is going to allow us to do is see if a variable, either parent relationship, quality, or religious affiliation, explains a significant difference on our dependent variable, which is binge drinking. After we do all of this, we will first test parent relationship on binge drinking, and then we will use religious affiliation as a second block to look at how those impact each other. After all of that, we will look for gender variance. We want to see if there's a significance between the binary genders and how they each interact with these three variables. So we will test males and females separately if there is a significance for this. Otherwise, we might just stick to our hierarchical regression model for parental relationship quality, religious affiliation, and binge drinking. All right, and that is all for us. Thank you for watching.